This is an art collage novel video. I made this series so you guys can experience the story faster. The video will focus on the character's psychology, the images are for illustration purposes only. When Jiang Huishu heard that the person inside was a low-level martial venerable, he was sure that these two people were deliberately toying with him. How could he listen to their explanation? The power of the Wuji fan in his hand burst out and completely suppressed the two people in an instant. He had the upper hand. Yu Qijin couldn't say anything and only felt extremely aggrieved. The more he fought, the angrier he became. He said angrily, "Wei Yin, use your full strength. This person is too much of a bully. If we are captured by him and taken to the core area, can we still live?" The aura on his body suddenly burst to the peak. The black snake whip in his hand was stimulated to its peak state by him without considering the consequences. For a moment, thousands of whip shadows shrouded the sky, as if countless long snakes were crossing the sky and coming down one after another. Hui Yin was also extremely depressed. If she defeated this person today and fled, it would obviously mean that she had formed a grudge with the Red Moon City. In the future, not to mention the burial ground, she would not even need to stay in the entire eastern region. However, if he allowed this person to grab him without distinguishing between right and wrong, and insisted that he had obtained some kind of treasure, he would probably die. He decided to choose the lesser of two evils. After he thought it through, he suddenly burst out. The flames on his body condensed into fire rings around him, stacking up to form various patterns. It was actually a fire-type attack formation that directly pushed back Jiang Huishu's power and suppressed it. Under the explosive power of the two, they instantly turned the tables and seemed to be able to turn defeat into victory. The two of them were on par with Jiang Huishu in terms of strength. However, they had lost because of their inferior profound-level weapons and the fact that they were wary of each other's identity. Hence, they had fought timidly. Now that they had started to fight, they gradually gained the upper hand. Jiang Huishu's expression changed drastically. It was only then that he realized that it was impossible for him to capture the two of them by himself. He suddenly shouted and let out a long howl that shook the 9 heavens. He wanted to activate the 9 Yin Hao Yuan Fiend formation in the sky and ask for help from the blood god. Yu Qijin's expression changed drastically. "He's looking for help," he shouted. "Kill him now." Yu Qijin's eyes were bloodshot. Yu Qijin was not a kind person. He had killed the blood god's junior brother in a fit of anger. Now that he had offended the Red Moon City, it would be more dangerous to let this man go back. In a fit of anger, he had the intention to kill. Once a person started to fight for his life, any kind of power could be unleashed. Jiang Huishu, who was already at a disadvantage, was in even more danger. His life was hanging by a thread. Under the influence of Yu Qijin's emotions, the sound of fire also began to send out attacks to kill. The fire formation circles bombarded the opponent's Wuji fan, forcing Jiang Huishu to retreat. Damn it! Why isn't the blood god here yet? Jiang Huishu was extremely angry. He waved his fan to the extreme, but he still couldn't withstand the joint attack of the two. Every move he made, the other party took it head-on, consuming a considerable amount of primordial qi. One move was more difficult than the other, and finally, he couldn't hold on. The qi and blood in his body rapidly withered, causing his internal organs to crack. He spat out a mouthful of blood and was thrown far away like a kite. "Assistant. I'm from the Red Moon City, you dare to kill me?" Jiang Huishu was at his wit's end in his desperation, so he could only bring up the Red Moon City again, hoping that it could save his life. A trace of struggle flashed in Yu Qijin's eyes, but he finally made up his mind and said, "We don't want to start a feud with Red Moon City. You forced us to do this. You asked for your own death." Wait. Jiang Huishu said hurriedly, "You can leave now. We'll pretend that today's incident never happened. I, Jiang Huishu, swear that I won't hold a grudge and won't pursue what happened today. If you really kill me, you will die without a doubt. My life has always been in my own hands," Yu Qijin said coldly. "You didn't squander it. It's too late to say anything now. Die." The black snake in his hand suddenly struck out, aiming for the vital part of the other party. At the critical moment, a black shadow suddenly attacked and slammed into the black snake. The two forces collided and bounced off each other. The black shadow didn't disappear after being shaken off, but directly entered Jiang Huishu's body. Jiang Huishu had thought that someone had come to save him. He was overjoyed, but when he saw who it was, his heart sank into an abyss. It seemed to be even more terrifying than facing Yu Qijin. He screamed in horror and struggled to get up, trying to escape. However, how could the two of them let him have his way? Huiyin shot out a fireball that hit his big calf, causing him to fall to the ground again. He struggled endlessly, and his entire body revealed an expression of extreme pain. His body began to turn black. Who is it? Who are you? Yu Qijin looked at Dijia, who was slowly walking over from the distance, and was extremely vigilant. He thought to himself that he was really unlucky today. He had encountered masters one after another. His eyes revealed killing intent again. The fact that he was going to kill the people of Red Moon City must not be spread, or he would really be dead. Don't be nervous. This person is my escaped slave. Thank you for taking him down. Dijia smiled slowly, his eyes showing gratitude. Yu Qijin frowned and snorted in disbelief. Slave? Who are you trying to lie to? How could a 4-star martial emperor with a 9th-tier mystic weapon be your slave? Quickly report your identity and I can spare your life. Dijia chuckled. Humans always like to speak insincerely. The look in your eyes clearly tells me that you will kill me without a doubt. Why did you say that you will let me live? I can see the treachery in your eyes. You're looking for my weakness and planning to launch a sneak attack when I'm not prepared, right? Yu Qijin's heart trembled. His true thoughts had actually been seen through by the other party in an instant. A kind of naked shame and anger welled up in his heart. He said angrily, so what? Even if you have amazing insight, you won't be able to escape death today. The long snake whip in his hand flickered again and suddenly attacked Dijia without any reservation. A smile hung on Dijia's mouth as he slowly read, the ignorant ants are suffering for themselves. His eyes were as clear as water, without a single ripple. However, when Yu Qijin saw it, he panicked and shouted, what nonsense is this? Black snake splitting clouds. The long black snake whip danced in the air, forming a spiral trajectory. It turned into a black gas, which suddenly enveloped Dijia's entire body and shook him down. Yu Qijin's eyes burst out with a cold light. According to his judgment, as long as this move succeeded, the other party would die without a doubt. Boom. The long snake suddenly collided with a huge force, and just the rebound force almost made Yu Qijin lose his grip on the long whip. The one who blocked Dijia's attack in front of him was Jiang Huishu. An evil look appeared in his eyes and he shouted angrily, seizing the Wuji fan, a fan of extreme yang shocks the heavens. Bang bang bang. With a wave of the huge fan, an extremely strong force exploded in the air like a chain of beads. Every burst of force shook out a faint demonic chi, and the sound spread all the way. How is this possible? Yu Qijin was greatly shocked. He didn't have time to think carefully. The long whip in his hand danced in a few circles in front of him, forming a coiled snake defense. The light of a grain. A Xianin earth split. Jiang Huishu shouted again. He changed the movement of the folding fan in his hand. He turned his hand and pressed down. The whole ground suddenly exploded. A terrifying power rushed out from the earth vein. Yu Qijin could no longer resist it. He spat out a large mouthful of blood and was sent flying. The long black snake whip in his hand was also toyed with to its limit. It exploded one by one, breaking into pieces and scattering on the ground. Vising Luo. Huiyin looked at all of this in a daze. In just an instant, a man who was on the verge of death had suddenly exploded with such a powerful force. Not only did he not look like he was about to die, but he had even turned the tables and won easily. Jiang Huishu closed his folding fan and moved his hand over, pointing at Huiyin. A sense of fear spread in Hua Yin's heart. Just that one finger had made her feel that it was difficult to resist. Wasn't the change before and after a little too big? Even the legendary divine medicine couldn't restore Jiang Huishu's power instantly. Moreover, it gave her a feeling that he was even stronger than before. All right, stop. Di Jia chuckled. Don't go too far. Don't hurt each other. You'll be on the same side soon. Yes. Master. Jiang Huishu bowed respectfully and carefully retreated to Di Jia with a loyal look. It's one of us. A bad feeling welled up in Hua Yin's heart. Yu Qijin, who was seriously injured on the ground in the distance, also felt his heart sink. In his current state, he no longer had the ability to resist and choose his fate. He could only let himself be slaughtered. Di Jia laughed. Don't you think it's strange? He was clearly about to die. How did he suddenly become so lively? The two of them were filled with doubt and endless bitterness. Di Jia laughed. That's because I gave him power. This power can not only make his fighting will and power infinite, but it can also improve the original foundation. He only has the strength of a 4-star martial emperor. After obtaining my power, he'll be able to reach the peak of 4-star or even 5-star very soon. This Tao Wu, how is this possible? You, who are you? Hua Yin was terrified. The advancement of any star above the martial supreme realm was more difficult than cultivating from a warrior to a martial supreme. Ordinary people thought that after entering the 9 heavens realm, they could basically peep at the peak of martial arts. In fact, the difference was very far. Any tiny barrier was enough to make you unable to advance for the rest of your life. Therefore, it was difficult to understand the phenomenon of increasing one's strength by 1 star in an instant, as well as being able to have endless fighting spirit and power. Di Jia's mouth showed a cold smile and he said, "You'll find out soon enough that it's all true. As for who I am, just call me the master like he did." His body suddenly disappeared and turned into a ball of demonic qi, pouncing toward Yu Qijin. Yu Qijin roared in horror and wanted to resist. After struggling a few times, he no longer made any sound. Although Huayin could control fire, she felt cold all over. She screamed in horror and turned into a stream of fire to escape. However, she was knocked down by Jiang Huishu's fan, and she vomited blood. She no longer doubted Di Jia's words. After the fight, she clearly felt that Jiang Huishu's strength was at least peak 4-star. She felt her vision go black and saw a black shadow pouncing towards her. In front of the steps leading to the hall in the mountain, 3 people stood side by side. All of them stood respectfully in front of Di Jia, as humble as ants. These 3 demon slaves are quite strong and will be of great use here. I'll eat you after this matter is over. Now, Di Jia said lightly. Tell me everything you know. He raised his hand, and 3 black lines shot out from his fingertips, piercing into the brains of the 3 people. Yes. It's our greatest honor to be able to become master's food. Their faces were filled with incomparable happiness. They stood there with great honor, allowing Di Jia to read all the memories in their minds. Time slowly passed, and after the time it took to brew a cup of tea, the 3 black lines gradually disappeared. Di Jia's expression became complicated, and a glimmer of light flashed in his eyes. He said to himself, it turns out that the seal has not been completely broken. No wonder I could only feel a faint aura. It seems that I have to go to the place of the seal personally. God knows when these aunts will break the seal. It will be troublesome if that avatar comes. It seems that my ancient god's battlefield is still in his hands. Then, he looked at the passage in front of him and said coldly, it's actually this kid. The jade tablet in his hand gave me a familiar feeling, but I can't remember. He smacked his own head and revealed a pained expression. He said ferociously, damn clone, you've stolen too many memories. My memories are in a mess. It took him a long time to calm down, and he said fiercely, I'll retrieve all my memories and power sooner or later. Just you wait. After he calmed down, Di Jia returned to his calm look and said coldly, we can't let that kid go. However, before I take care of him, there are still some ants that I have to take care of first. Come out, ants, he said coldly to the void. You've been watching for so long. Are you addicted? The air was quiet, and there was no movement. Humph. Still pretending. Jia snorted coldly. A black light shot out from his hand and immediately disappeared in the air. The next moment, it was shot out in the sky not far away. There was a fluctuation in the space, and 3 figures appeared with the black light. They all looked at him in shock. They were all from the Blood God Palace, and the one in the lead was the Blood God. I've been hiding in the void for a long time, Jia said coldly. How long do you plan to watch? The scion was shocked. How did you see through me? Isn't the divine sense suppressed here? Master's abilities are too powerful for you to know. Jiang Huishu shouted angrily, Blood God, how dare you? So you've been here for a long time, but you didn't come to my rescue when you saw I was in danger. You're so scheming and sinister. The Blood God's eyes flashed with a trace of fear. He looked at Jiang Huishu and said coldly, Lord Jiang, are you still alive? Is it your soul that's talking now? It's such a pity that the high and mighty figure of the Red Moon City has become someone else's slave. Jiang Huishu flew into a rage and shouted, Of course I'm still me. Even if you want to be a slave, it also depends on who you're working for. It's also a good thing that you didn't save me, he said with a cold smile. That's why I have the chance to become my master's slave. I'm so lucky. A chill ran down the scion's spine. What kind of sorcery was this? Their souls are still here, Jia said with a faint smile. They just realized my greatness and are willing to be my slaves. I can see that the 3 of you are quite strong, so I'll give you this opportunity as well. The scion of the Blood God felt a chill run down his spine as he hurriedly said, Forget it. I can't afford it. One of your 3 slaves was the enemy who killed my junior brother, but now that he has found his happiness, I am happy for him. Let's forget about the past and not pursue it. The other 2 people from Blood God Palace revealed a strange expression and were sweating profusely. In their opinion, the current situation of Yu Qijin and the other 2 was worse than death. Killing them was equivalent to saving and freeing them. You're welcome, Jia said with a smile. You have the right to receive my glory. Take the 3 of them down. The more slaves I have, the better my appetite will be, he said, waving his hand. The 3 of them revealed happy expressions, as if it was an incomparable honor to be able to work for their master. The Blood God's eyes became extremely serious. He was not afraid of the strength of these 3 people, but from the current situation, these 3 people did not lose their minds. They looked normal, but they were unconditionally obedient to Jia. If he could master this technique, then he could insert his people into any sect in the world, and it seemed that they would never betray him. At the thought of this, his heart suddenly burned with passion. He said in a serious tone, Kill these 3. I want that young man alive. The clone of Blood God also rushed into the battlefield. The sea of blood spread out and covered the 3 of them. The 3 of them were 4-star martial sovereigns, so he did not take them seriously. The other 2 martial sovereigns of Blood God Palace rushed toward Jia, trying to capture him alive. Well, I'll grant you 2 glory first. Jia's face was ferocious. He immediately showed his Dharma form with 3 heads and 6 arms and rushed toward the 2. The monstrous demonic flame spread out and corroded the sea of blood, turning it into a sea of demonic chi. What? The 3 people from Blood God Palace were all shocked. Their blood sea was the dirtiest thing in the world and could corrode everything. However, it was directly corroded by the other party's power. The 3 of them couldn't react in time. You dare attack, Master? Blood God, you deserve to die. Jiang Huishu's voice was heard. He roared, Damn it. One fan of extreme yang shocks the heavens, one fan of profounding splits the earth, break for me. Boom boom boom. 2 forces rushed out of the sea of blood. The remaining sea of blood completely dissipated under the 2 hurricanes. Jiang Huishu spread his huge fan and attacked the Blood God. Motionless Saber King. Yellow Springs Hellfire. Yuchi Jin's palms turned into blades and the sound of fire turned into flames. Two powerful forces surged out from the demonic chi and blasted towards the blood god. How can he be so strong? The blood god was shocked. He was originally a 6-star martial emperor. These 3 people were just like ants in his eyes. He could kill them in seconds. However, as soon as his blood sea was broken, the other party's demonic chi surged. In addition, the strength of these 3 people had increased greatly after they were possessed by the devil. Jiang Huishu had also broken through to the level of a 5-star martial emperor. The power of the Wuji fan that he had seized was also more powerful. Under the bombardment of the 3 forces, he was forced to retreat. The other 2 low-level martial sovereigns were struggling to hold on under Dijia's Dharma power. Blood God's eyes flickered with surprise. When he saw the 2 men gradually being invaded by the demonic energy, his heart was filled with horror, and an endless hatred for Yunxiao welled up in his heart. If his blood beasts were here, he would have killed all of them. You guys are lucky this time. Let's go. The blood god held a blood bead in each hand and threw it at Dijia's Dharma power. A sea of blood suddenly exploded. It was condensed by his blood essence. Even a 6-star martial emperor would not dare to take it head-on. Humph, small tricks. One of Dijia's heads suddenly turned into a huge demon head. It opened its big mouth and swallowed the 2 blood beads directly. After that, there was no more after effect. This Tao Wu. The scion of the blood god was completely stunned. He looked at his 2 subordinates, who could not hold on much longer, and Jiang Huishu and the other 2, who were charging at him. He made up his mind and turned into a ray of blood light to escape. Don't. Just us. The 2 men from the blood god palace wailed in horror. At this moment, all the potential in their bodies was unleashed. They burned their blood essence and revealed a ruthless expression. Instead of becoming slaves, why don't we fight with our lives on the line? Dijia sneered. Suddenly, his pupils shrank, and the power in his body began to fade rapidly. The demonic chi in the sky also gathered. Boom. The 2 martial sovereigns of the blood god palace burned their blood essence and made a shocking blow. They broke through the restraint of Dijia's demonic chi and turned into 2 rays of blood light to escape. They would need at least 3 to 5 years to recover from this desperate attempt. What? We actually let them escape. Jiang Huishu was shocked and furious. This group of ignorant ants. Master has given them supreme glory. Not only are they ungrateful, but they're also disrespectful to our master. Kill, kill. Dijia's face instantly became a little ferocious, and he said fiercely, "You detestable clone, are you also plotting against me from behind? This feeling seems to be very close to me. You won't let go of this 3rd body either. Just in time, I can take you all in together and return my ancient god's battlefield." He no longer paid attention to the people from Blood God Palace who had escaped. Instead, his gaze landed on the main hall and he said coldly, "Living 9th tier profound armament, after I subdue you, you can temporarily be my saber." Dijia's body exuded demonic flames, which wrapped around the 3 of them. He turned into a black light and rushed into the hall. In the endless cave, the divine realm tablet was floating in the air quietly, with flowing light flashing on it. No one knew how many days had passed. The originally endless spring water had already dried up, revealing a deep pit in the ground. The spiritual chi had also gradually dispersed with the disappearance of the spring water, turning the place into a place of death. Inside the divine realm tablet, Yunxiao, who had been in a state of oblivion, finally opened his eyes slowly. He felt that the world was clear, and the power of laws in the entire divine realm tablet had undergone a great change, flashing in his mind one by one. The change in the law was a kind of complement that was approaching perfection. The 4 regions of earth, water, fire, and wind were fully opened, and the complete power of the world emerged. It was only at this moment that the inner world of the divine realm tablet could truly be called a complete world. He slowly immersed himself in the wonderful changes of those laws, attentively experiencing the feeling of the creation of the world and the birth of the great Tao. He was like a parent body, which was the world itself, nurturing the growth of all living things and gradually evolving under his consciousness. This was the deduction of the heavenly Tao in the world inside the tablet. Every rule was born from the heavenly Tao, which was then imprinted into Yunxiao's divine sense. At this moment, he was one with the divine realm tablet.